Hi, it's Sarah Elder. Welcome to the Briefing Note podcast. And I have a very special guest, Rachel Loewen Walker, the candidate for the NDP running in Saskatoon West, is joining me today. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
Let me just start by saying, we're doing this podcast obviously virtually, but you're my neighboring province, Saskatchewan. And one day I really want to meet you in person.
Likewise. I lived in Alberta actually while I was doing my PhD. I lived in Edmonton, so
Okay. Well,
I know.
not Calgary, but that's okay. Still close.
But
Um,
I'm very prairie rooted. I've lived in Manitoba and Alberta, and I'm born and raised in Saskatchewan, so I feel very prairie rooted.
well, I can tell you actually, so this is not really related at anything except to prairies in Saskatchewan. I'm making the political animal sweater again. And the
Oh
sweater
yeah?
is actually green. And I was just at my silk screener in Calgary. And that's why it's coming to me because it was very recent. And anyways, the sweater is actually green, like forest green. And then I decided to make the political animal gold.
Oh, nice. Like the wheat fields.
Yes. And I when I was picking the color, I was changing the color from white to gold. I was like, oh, this feels kind of Saskatchewan-y for me.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
does. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank
But
you.
yeah. Anyways, that's not what this podcast is about. We're talking about your candidacy today. So you're a candidate in this current election.
That I am.
And you ran in a contested nomination for the NDP in Saskatoon West. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll start there. How many candidates were you running against?
One other candidate.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you came out triumphant, obviously.
I did. I did. It was a really close race. I mean, the thing about contested nominations is it actually does wonderful things for a party
Mm, yeah.
because not only does it bring a lot of people out, right? You have in my opinion, two excellent candidates, right? The person I was running against is a wonderful human being who also believes deeply in in the NDP, and so we both brought out different groups of really supportive community members, and then the community gets to choose their candidate, right?
Yeah.
And so there were more than 300 people at that nomination meeting.
That's amazing.
It was an incredible event.
That's amazing. And so I mean, I just want to, because we're using video for this podcast. So, but I can't remember how many months ago, but it was before you won the nomination. But someone, and I can't remember their name, I'm so sorry.
I know who it was.
Yes.
So Emma Wintermute and Ryan
Yes.
Hall. Yes, they traveled to
Yes.
Calgary and they went and said hello to you.
And they brought me these most beautifully adorable tiny campaign buttons. I'm going to hold this up. Okay, so this one, for people who are listening and not going to see the audio of this, but this one, so it has your name on it. It says Saskatoon West. It's adorable. NDP. Everyone should copy. I think this is just brilliant. And then it has a picture of an orange cat.
So that's Hamlet. That's my
Okay.
cat who I've had for 14 years.
Oh my. That's amazing. Okay. And then the next one, who is this little angel? Again, it's same button. Oops, dropped it because I just put on lotion. Who is this
That is
adorable
Loki.
puppy?
So Loki is a chow chow.
Oh
He's a
my gosh.
gray black chow chow, and he lives up to his name. He's a bit of a shapeshifter.
I mean, he looks like a chow chow is like a very special dog, I would say.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
he's laying beside me here.
oh, lovely.
Might
And then
interrupt with the bark.
nice. And where's the cat?
I
Doing
don't,
cat things?
yeah, Hamlet's probably sleeping on a weird box in the basement.
Very cat-like. They're
Very
very
cat-like.
cat-like. And then there's this really lovely one of you.
Aw, thank you.
Who did the art for the buttons?
That one we had the my partner actually. My
Oh,
partner
really?
Esteban Cortez Vargas, who is my campaign manager. It's actually a combo of taking real photos and then working with kind of working to put different imagery in, cartoonize things. And
Oh
so
yeah, I
yeah,
love them.
they did.
And then the fourth to round out the little grouping is just like a one that says NDP with a little maple leaf in it. But I keep these buttons like in the drawer here at the store, and I don't think I'll ever be able to part with them because just I mean this that someone came from Saskatoon with these buttons for me that are just, it really means a lot to me. So thank you. Yeah, it was so touching. I was really moved when it happened.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I'll say so. Emma and Ren are my students. Were my
Oh,
students.
okay.
Now friends, brilliant campaign canvassers and staffers, but they were students in women's and gender studies class that I taught, I think it was 3 years ago. And they
Wow.
sit in the front row. I have this story because it's the cutest thing ever because they met and became best friends in that class
Oh,
and have since been I mean I have a ton of wonderful students working on this campaign, but they love your store and they were so thrilled to meet you and shared that news with me, and so that's a really incredible story of
well,
just
it's
kind
like
of
the
supporting
power
one
of,
another.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. And
supporting women and gender diverse
yes,
people in politics. And so
yes.
that's a through line in my entire campaign. Absolutely.
I love that. And I think it's so important. And we're going to talk about that in the second half of the podcast, but about like women and the campaign, like the federal, like the national campaign, because I think it's really worthy of a conversation
Yeah.
that's not being had. But if we can talk, I want to hear about like what you're hearing at the doors. And Jagmeet Singh is actually paying Saskatoon a visit today. Mark Carney as well.
Well.
Obviously not. They're not going to be in the same place. Can you imagine? Like both campaigns showing up and being like, no, I had this room booked. No, I had this room booked.
Yeah, little June would
That would
know what to
be,
do with that.
yeah, right. Um, but what's the experience been like so far? Because this is an election unlike any other.
Oh my gosh, that is the truth. So I mean, because the nomination was last spring into early summer, I have been campaigning for a year. We never stopped after that nomination. It's been constant. I've been on doors ever since then. And of course, we've ramped it up in the last couple of weeks. But Saskatchewan's the birthplace of the NDP, right? And so we have this incredible, deep, solid kind of grassroots base of NDP supporters. And I just in the last week in particular, I went to all of the seniors' residences because they have mobile polls, and so they
Right.
can vote in their homes. And every single one had just tons and tons of people who said, yeah, of course I'm NDP. I voted NDP my whole life. I'm going to keep doing
Mm.
it. And I think that, I mean, I love that. And I think that I didn't know that that was coming. And I didn't know what it would be like in that respect. That I'm a first-time candidate. And it's incredibly humbling to talk to. They tell me stories about whose campaigns they worked on way back when, and
Mm.
they are part of the CCF, and it's incredibly humbling to be invited into people's homes, to hear
And their
all the stories.
memories.
Oh, people show me artifacts. They pull out
Really?
books. Yes, it's
Wow,
incredible.
that's amazing.
Yeah. And so there's that, right? There's this deep history that I get that gets shared with me at lots of doors. And there's also, I mean, the top issues probably are similar across Canada, which are people are worried about affordability. They can't, people are saying I have to choose between rent and groceries.
Yeah.
I'm worried about what the future holds. There's lots of course, talk about Trump, but I would say affordability comes up more.
Mm.
So those are the things. I mean, the things that we hear on doors are incredible. Uh,
Are people bringing up um, like, are you hearing any crossover between like the Mo government and like dissatisfaction on the unity front and Mo's position on tariffs or
Yeah, I mean, actually, the honest thing is not as much.
yeah.
Um, we just had a provincial election, and so, well, in fall, but it feels very recent.
Yes, it feels like it could have been yesterday.
We also had a municipal election at that time, and so there's kind of we always do the clear, this is federal
Right.
clarity to what
Yeah.
is taking place there, um, and so I haven't heard as much in that respect, but what I
Yeah.
have heard, which would be kind of the bigger picture piece to that, is that piece of a lot of people saying, we all need to stand up for Canada. We
Mm.
need to get on board, and we need to be working together in order to do it. And so
Well, that's
that
good to
message
hear.
comes through, right? And so I guess there is a element of
Of
ensuring
it.
that everybody is on
Yeah.
board with
Well, and I say that from over here in Alberta, where um, Danielle Smith has a different take, obviously, on pretty much everything, and has been really outspoken in this election about supporting Pierre Poilievre and Scott Moe. I'd say I don't know what 60% of the time that's like goes along, kind of like oh yeah,
yeah.
kind of like they're buddies, right?
Yeah, and he's been kind of
Um,
invisible. I mean, I
yeah,
think
he
his,
hasn't.
his lack of stance has said a lot more than anything he
Yeah,
said. That's what I
I
would say about that
I
one.
think so. And so, yeah, he hasn't made himself a presence in this election like she has. Um, but yeah, so fascinating how this election is playing out in so many different ways. But so in terms of affordability, like what are you telling people that the NDP will do?
Mhm.
Um, you know, um, I mean, I think that it's probably pretty clear that this is the governing party will either be the Liberals or the Conservatives. So, having, sending a strong NDP presence to Ottawa, obviously, and from Saskatchewan would be really good, I think, in terms of providing a strong opposition to whoever is in power. Um, what's your pitch
Yeah.
about what you would do to represent your constituents in Saskatoon West?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I Saskatoon West, like every riding, has a unique history, and is really a riding that has gone back and forth between blue and orange. We had Sherry Benson as an NDP MP from 2015 to 2019, and so recently this was an NDP seat. And so I talked to lots and lots of people about the fact that just as you said, the NDP is this wonderful conscience. They are holding people accountable. They are the party. I am the person fighting for people, right? And so without that, we lose a lot. And so things like um, pharmacare, right? I mean, Medicare, public health care came from Saskatchewan, from the
Yes.
NDP, and I just lean into that history and
Well,
that fight.
so many of the best things that people enjoy in life are because of the NDP in Canada.
I know. How incredible is that, right? And so I
Well, and
do.
I don't feel like you guys get enough credit for that.
Thank you. I agree with you.
I don't think you do because, I don't think you don't have to be like a full on lover of the union movement or the progressive of the NDP, but I think we should all be able to acknowledge that the worker movement or the socialist movement, whatever you want to call it, however you can make that digestible to you, um, workers' rights, you know, all of the things, I think of so many of the safeguards that we have in our society that protect people, benefits, not only protections, but benefits as well, you know, are because of your party.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I not only agree, we know that that's true,
Yes, you do.
right?
You do know
For,
that's
for
true.
a party that hasn't ever formed federal government, so many of the things that we say, this is what makes us Canadian, have
Right.
come from the NDP
Yeah,
pushing.
I completely agree.
And so more than ever, we absolutely need NDP MPs in there continuing to fight for those things. I think when we go into hard times and crisis mode, it's the
Right.
easiest to start cutting out
Yes.
all of those things. And in fact, we need it more than ever. We need people ensuring that people are looked after, that benefits are rolling out, that, if we need to increase things like EI, right? And we need to increase funds going into community organizations. We need NDPers in there.
Disability supports.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. These are
School
the
food
things that are
programs. Yeah. All of the things that
$10 a
people
day
think are
childcare.
nice to haves,
Yeah,
right? Which actually
they're life-saving.
they
Yeah,
are life-saving. They can
yeah,
be life-saving to people. And also, what's an economy without people? And
yeah.
people that are, happy and healthy and productive. Um, yeah. We
I
we
agree.
I know. I'm I you know, I'm Eileen M supported the NDP here in Alberta in the last provincial election, and I will be again. Um, but I see these things as like the story that needs to be told around the history of the NDP and what it's done, not only for Canadians, but people in Saskatchewan, people in Alberta.
Hmm.
It's that history and that promise of we can do both. We can look after the economy and we can take care of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, provincially, NDP governments run balanced budgets also, right? And do incredible things to look after communities. We're seeing that with Bob Canoe in
Oh,
Manitoba.
100%.
They're rolling out.
Highest people like Canadians, you don't even have to be NDP to support him. He has managed to close that divide.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that gives me a lot of hope,
Yeah.
and it gives me a lot of fuel for this campaign, because that's another thing, right? I talk to lots of people in the doors about that, and they see it and they know it and they believe in that. And so that really matters, and ensuring I appreciate you sharing that, because we do need to get that story out there and we need to hear it more and more in the weeks to come.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, I have a lot of like more, a lot of thoughts about, how campaigns are run and, what people say in politics and all of that. But, you know, um, I think the NDP has a lot of opportunity to tell those stories. And
Yeah.
we'll have to see how things play out in terms of results. But I think that there's an opportunity to kind of, reshape the messaging and what happens, but I don't want to be like too much of a negative Nancy about where things are, especially because the leader's coming to your ride to your town today.
Yes, and it will
Yes.
be well. And what I want to share is, speaking of the campaign, is that so back to, the nomination, we had the same theme, and all the way through, the guiding principles for this campaign, Saskatoon West, are courage and joy.
Oh,
And so that has been, every day we talk about that in the campaign office. The courage to stand up to things, the courage to say what's hard, the courage to fight for what's right, to fight for progressive values, even though, we are in the thick of cancel culture. We are in the thick of people going after any
yeah.
progressive voice. We are in the thick of women actually having less and less and less spaces of leadership, especially in politics, right?
Yeah.
And so courage to give it our all and to not water things down and to not be afraid to speak up. And then joy, right? I mean, it's hard out there. And I do say to a lot of people, truly, the world is on fire. It feels that way. And the joy, the connection, the ways that we build each other up, those are the things that are going to get us through. It's actually not fighting and criticizing. It's actually leaning in, right?
Yeah.
Antidote to fear is connection.
Oh, preach. This is honestly, this is on, I believe it. I believe it 100%. It's community. And also, doing it in a way that brings people together rather than dividing them, because we all know that we have different opinions. Like you and I don't agree on everything, right?
Absolutely.
But we can still come together. And, it's so unfortunate that it has taken Donald Trump to bring Canadians to this point. But,
Mhm.
um, like I just hope we all, I hope we all make it out of, so it sounds so bad.
We will.
I hope we all make it out of this alive.
You've
But
got
I know
buttons
we will.
from Saskatchewan. I've got your stickers on my desk. I mean, we're gonna make it.
Yeah, right. Like, but it's together that we
Yeah,
will do that. And it's people, even people who don't agree, right?
yeah,
But we need each other.
yeah, we do.
We really need each other. And I had hoped that this was what we were going to take out of the pandemic. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But I'm hopeful that in this moment again, we can use this as a time to really think about what matters.
Hmm.
And I think it's about people, it's about community, it's about connection. We are not better off, just at home on our phones living a solitary life. It is when we, eat together, when we walk together, when our kids play together, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. I always have every day this list of calls to make, and I called this one woman, an older woman, and she said, she wanted to hear about the campaign, but she said, "Are people still organizing? Are people out there organizing for social justice?" And I said, "Yeah, they are." She said, "Well, where are they? I haven't been to anything." And I said, a lot of it is online that people are connecting. And she just said, but I'm not online.
Mm.
But I don't get invited because I'm not online. I want to be in a room with people. And it darn near broke my heart because I do believe there's incredible things that we've been able to do online. Absolutely. And there are incredible kind of transnational conversations that are able to happen because of online spaces. But gosh, have we left people behind?
Well, that's the thing. Like the internet has done. I was thinking about it this morning because I was like, I think I got an update on my phone or something. Anyways, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. I love this. It not only is more aesthetically pleasing, but it has increased functionality. That is what I want technology to do for me. I want it to be beautiful and I want it to make my life easier. But technology is not a replacement for people,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It's in the same way that I don't want AI to write something for me. AI is not going to be, if you've ever seen that movie Her, which I highly recommend,
Mhm.
it is a devastating analysis of how technology can be very isolationist and is not the answer to this issue. We need people, we need to shake, we need to touch each other.
Yeah.
We need to hug and tell people that we love them. And we need to cry and laugh together, right?
Yeah.
That is what will save us. And if if that sounds naive, I'm okay with sounding naive because I honestly think that this is what we need in order to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a lot of people hug me
Yeah,
in
that's
the
amazing. I love that.
doors. Yeah. After a good conversation, and
Yeah.
it's incredible. And it speaks to that, right? We want to connect. And it's a way to show appreciation. It's a way to show people want to show that they care, right? And it is through touch and it is through connection. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's not tapping on a keyboard, right?
No,
No, I'm not going
no,
to do
it
it. We
isn't.
need more hugs.
Yeah,
Hugs and
I'm all for
waves. Yeah.
hugs.
Um, well, okay, let's move on to chatting about women in this election because I don't know about you, Rachel, but I have like a lot of bones to pick with what's happening and how women are being erased, left out. Like it has become very politically unpopular to talk about anything regarding um, the advancement of women in politics, as well as just anything related to um, DEIA. And for anyone who's not, they're like, what is, I've only ever heard of DEI. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and the one that always gets left off is accessibility. Specifically in politics, because we never talk about the accessibility of political spaces for people who are, who are disabled.
Yeah.
They always get left out of this, and we have to, as feminists, bring that piece along with us, because if you're not practicing intersectional feminism, then you're not practicing feminism.
Here, here.
Right.
Absolutely.
So what's your, that's my take, partial, one tiny part of it. What's yours?
My take is I'm completely with you. So my background is in nonprofit. I was the executive director of a queer community health center for 7 years. And then after that, I've been teaching gender, sexuality, and social justice. I'm a professor at the University of Saskatchewan. And so this is my everyday is working with incredible students and teaching about feminism, intersectional feminism, anti-racism, queer theory. Those are the things that, I mean, we need to talk more about, not less. I will say that so it's been 5 years now that I've been back at the university, and I have felt the chill. And I talk to my students every year. It's chillier and chillier and chillier. And that's not to say that there aren't thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, women, gender diverse people, also men, that are really unhappy with that chill, right? But there are a lot of forces working against diversity right now and working against having equitable representation. And so it's very, 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 very important to me to stand up for, as for intersectional feminism, but for diverse representation.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. We're seeing this, it's a backslide, but people are obeying in advance in the sense.
Yeah. It feels like there are too many people who are happy about the backsliding of the advancement of women in society.
Yeah,
Not only in Canada, but globally. People are
absolutely.
like, oh, those women have been getting they've been getting too far ahead.
Yeah,
Like, I can't wait. Like, yep, the men to the front.
yeah. Men will save us, right? And it's not true. We know that it's not true. And so we're seeing that. We're seeing kind of this tightening up, closing of the ranks, and it
Yeah.
does push it's pushing women out. And then that obeying in advance is this anticipation of difficulty, right? So anticipation of, say, a government that doesn't support equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, as you say. And so they're doing things now to obey with that perceived future, right? It hasn't happened yet. And you know what? If we stop obeying in advance, we can actually resist that future. We can actually change that future. But I think that,
Do people want it?
yeah, I mean,
Do enough people want it, right?
want the change. Yeah, they
Yeah.
do.
Well,
I, I
I
am
wish
an
I
optimist.
wish they would fucking vote.
Yeah, I
To be
agree. I
honest,
agree.
I wish they would fucking vote.
Well, and so I'll say I have the numbers here, which is that Um, so the NDP is 51% women, which is, I'm proud. I'm so proud of that. They also have 20% to us LGBTQIA candidates, and 12.5% are people living with disabilities. And so it's baked into the nomination process of the
Yeah.
NDP to ensure that there are equity deserving candidates on the ballot. But the Liberals have 36% women and the Conservatives have 23% women in terms of their
Yeah.
candidates. And so that's a huge drop. And not only is that just fundamentally not representative of our country and of the people that make up our country, but it shows where the priorities lie. And there's this kind of shoring up back to this particular type of politician, right? That's gonna get us out of this.
And it's very particular. It's a white man.
Yeah, yeah, it is. you
Yeah,
know?
that's like
And
there's no like there I'm not gonna dick about saying that. Like it's Mark Carney or Pierre Poilievre, right?
absolutely. And we saw
Um,
that happen
and
in the candidates.
even it's driving me crazy. I'm gonna do a short podcast about my thoughts and feelings on this. But the what was it? So Mark Carney got called at a rally like what was it, finance daddy or something
Oh,
big. I don't often do this, but I'm going to Carney. I'm just looking it up on my phone. What did they call him? Big Daddy. Somebody called out at a rally. Um, they called him Big Daddy. Here's my question, Rachel. Maybe you can answer this. I do think that this is an easy question, but maybe it's actually hard. I'm not sure. Have you ever heard anyone call out for a woman in politics and call them Big Mommy?
no, I have not.
Can you imagine that
Yeah,
ever happening?
no,
No,
no, I can't.
no.
No,
No one would ever cry out at a political rally, save me, Big Mommy, from
yeah,
bad, evil Donald Trump.
no,
But we'll
no.
say that about Mark. We'll say that about a man. Save me, Big Daddy. It is so patriarchal. It is so gross. It gives me such grossy vibes.
Hmm.
We would never, speak of a woman in that way, coming in to swoop in to save us from whatever threat it is, right?
Hmm.
But we will talk about a man in politics like that.
Hmm.
And
And
not
then,
I'm not saying I want someone to call out like save me big mommy from or whatever, like I just don't want anyone to I don't want us, I want the power. We that to me that's saying I'm giving you my power because you are the person who can save us. And there's a lot to unpack with what I'm saying here. But I think that, the power, that's something that we have to keep in ourselves. And if we give that to someone else, we're saying, you know better than me. You know how to take care of this problem. And I'm just going to defer to you. And I don't think that I, there's in so many ways, I don't like that.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And it misses what I think, right? Here I am again. I'm a first-time candidate, but it misses the point of political representation, which is
Yeah.
someone who works for the people.
Right. Yeah. There
With
are
the
so many
people,
things that
for the
I
people,
don't
with
like
the
about
people.
it.
Yeah.
Um, but we do not does Canada is this the moment where Canada needs a father figure to lead us out of this crisis? To me that's a return of like a 1950s home where the dad goes out to work his 9 to 5 job and a mom that stays at home and they have 3.0 children, and it's actually from the outside it looks really good, but from the inside it's really messed up.
Mhm.
No one's actually happy.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to return to a time where, it's the dad who will go out and save us,
Yeah.
right? Because
I-
it's actually the mom who also went to college, right?
mhm.
Who's like, yeah, I know how to do all of this, but like I'm just going to take my lorazepam and, deal with all of this stuff, right?
Mhm.
Because it's just like there's just so much.
Yeah, there is. And it makes me think of there's I'm sure you know all these, but the performance bias that women
Mm,
face, right? And so men are hired, or in this case, acclaimed in elections based
yeah.
on their potential and how they fit with a particular mold.
A
Whereas,
glass cliff.
yeah, yeah, and women are hired based, they have to
At
have,
times of crisis, when
yeah.
they're basically the chances of them failing is highly likely.
Yeah. Then they're put into those positions and they're scapegoated, right?
Yes.
And we're seeing that again and again. I've seen that happen many times. And so then some of that narrative is used as evidence not to
Yes.
recognize women in leadership.
Well, the other thing that I will say too is, and it's been playing out here in Alberta, because I'm not sure if you saw it, but Mark Carney, and I don't want to make this all about like Mark Carney too much, but in the but I think in the way that this campaign is playing out, and him being in the position of government, um, and being in the position of power and how he put together his cabinet and who was in his cabinet. And we all know, that Pierre Poilievre is not going to be putting together a gender equitable cabinet in any shape or form. But how that is also playing out here in Alberta is Mark Carney made like a really flippant kind of comments about at a rally about Danielle Smith and about not calling her up to appear on Fox News, but he is calling up Doug Ford. Doug Ford got the cheers, Danielle Smith got the boos, which I don't disagree with. I don't agree with Danielle Smith on like literally anything, but it set it up so that Danielle Smith could then respond. And conveniently, do you know what kind of an argument she and the UCP have made?
No.
Mark Carney's not a feminist.
Oh my gosh. We're in some alternate universe here.
They're not. He talks a good game about supporting women. But when it comes down to it, him and Justin Trudeau, it's more of the same, progressive men that aren't actually, don't back up what they say. And, like, oh my gosh, what kind of world am I living in?
Yeah.
Right. And it's not that Danielle Smith would ever, I think, describe herself as a feminist. She goes out of her way to not be. Absolutely. Right. But it gives conservatives the opening to use weaponized feminism in a way that works against not only them, but also the feminist movement, because it becomes like a joke. Like, oh, who needs feminism? Like, oh, they're fake feminists anyways. Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I think that every single preschool, kindergarten, grade 1, all the way through should be teaching feminism.
I mean, obviously I agree. But I keep a list actually of possible master's thesis topics.
Yeah.
If and when I do a master's, and like, this is just, it's writing itself for me. Right. Of possible topics to look at. It's just astonishing. This campaign is just bananas in so many different ways.
And even, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I could have never imagined, right? I was a gender studies student, working political activist in my community, working with actually kind of that classic consciousness raising, working with community members on different things. I could never have imagined that now in 2025, we would be experiencing this level of backlash against feminism. Never in my life could I have imagined that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even a year ago, I thought Kamala Harris was, I thought we would be in an entirely different place right now. But, some people are taking us in a different direction. But, what I want to say to people is like, and I think this goes back to something that you were saying earlier, is that people don't have to go along with this.
No, we don't.
Right. But there have to be enough of us that say that we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And that we want to do it differently.
Yeah, I know. We do. And so there's I don't know if you've read this. Have you heard of this book?
I have it in the store actually, but I haven't read it. Yeah.
And Gear to Hardis.
Yeah.
It's an excellent book. I would highly recommend it to anyone listening and to you. And it makes lots of great points, but a key point that it makes is that when we water things down, right? Back to that point I made, that we are not watering things down. We are progressive purely and courageously, or I want to be progressive purely and courageously. That's what we actually need to do to mobilize the base, right? When we in more left movements are always kind of making ourselves palatable, what we end up doing is actually alienating our own supporters and alienating our own base. And so really being courageous and brave about saying what we stand for matters. And that's what actually brings people in and gives people something to fight for. Anyway, I highly recommend the book. It really changed.
I'll have to read it
about
because
campaigning.
yeah, I mean, I have it here and I recommend it to other people. I just haven't read it myself. The interesting thing about this, and I feel like you and we obviously, I would really like, already wanted to like meet you, but I want to meet you now even more to have continue this conversation in person. Um,
Wonderful.
but it's the catch-22 of things, right? So building an inclusive, a political movement, whatever that looks like and whatever stripe that may be, where you are speaking to your base, but you also have to, in order to advance the ideas that you're advocating for, you also need to win, right? So how do you stay true to your political values while also building your movement and enveloping enough people outside of, I think, kind of this moment of, whether it's in 2015, whether it was like Justin Trudeau's hope, like when there's just something in the air, right? Like a je ne sais quoi of a moment in time where something just kind of propels a movement or a political party, like the Orange Crush, like Jack
Yeah.
Layton, right? Something happening. And how do we win and stay true to, right, to that? Because there are people in political parties who don't care. I think their values, they'll say X and then they'll do Y, right? To get elected, or they won't even tell you what they're going to do and then they'll do it.
Mhm.
They will do absolutely anything because they know that you have to be in power to be able to do the things that you want to do. Like, how
Mhm.
do we do that?
Well, that is a big question.
How do we do that, Rachel? I don't like, yeah,
We win, right? I mean, back to our earlier conversation about the role of the NDP, right? The NDP is the resistance and the conscience. And we fight for that and we run big and bold campaigns. And so another piece in building momentum, mobilizing the base. You mobilize the base to persuade the middle. In politics, right? We always talk about the middle. There's a whole bunch of people that aren't as partisan as
yeah.
kind of those of us that are running, right? Or
Yeah,
those of us that
they're
are
they're not wearing the bring it home t-shirt or,
no. And I talk to them all the time, right? People say, "Oh, I don't know, I'm going to do my research," right? And when
yeah,
you're so deep in it, you think that everybody's paying attention and everybody is, I've been a card-carrying NDPer my whole life, right? No, there's so many people that they are actually, I'm going to read your platform. I'm going to see what you stand for. I'm going to pay attention on social media to see what you do. And I think we really need to acknowledge that and pay attention to that, right? Because
mm,
those people, those are the swing, those are the voters, right? And it's not the case. So this is again from the book, but I have seen this in action. It's you're choosing between a pizza or a burger and that they just want a pizza burger, right? That's not the case. They want to be persuaded to choose the
mm,
burger or the pizza, right? And they want to have a reason to make that choice. They want to feel like they're reflected in it. And so that has also, that has given me a lot of, and my campaign team, right? We talk about that a lot, that we are always we get into our bubbles of everybody thinks like us, when in fact we
yeah,
actually have to show the people that aren't in our bubble, we have to connect with them, reach them, and show them that this wave is something worth riding.
yeah. Which leads me to ask a very non-serious question. If we were to make each of the political parties a food, what would they be?
Oh gosh, good question. I don't know. Let me
Yeah, me
think.
neither. I don't know why this is very random of me, but the pizza and the burger, and I was like,
I
oh, who
know.
would be who? What would
I
be what?
know. Who would be? I
Right?
love burgers, so I've been saying the
I know,
NDP
I do too. I
burger.
also really love pizza.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a foodie for sure. I love to cook. I love all kinds of food. So
Yeah. So like, I don't know, maybe that's something that AI would actually be good for, would be
yeah.
like, posing the question of, if Pierre Poilievre was a food, what food would he be? What would Jugmeet Singh be? And not in a, I hope that obviously like don't be like racist and or, microaggression-y and be like, Jugmeet Singh would be, an ethnic dish. No, like
Mhm.
maybe he's, I don't know,
A community potluck.
a
No,
casserole.
Jagmeet Singh would be a community potluck.
Oh, well, is that a food or is that a
It
type?
is, but it is. We're talking about belonging,
Yeah, you're right.
community.
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
That's what I
I
get
went
it.
with casserole because he's kind of playing this more like homey, kind of like, with his sweaters,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a comfort food.
Mhm.
Like, what do you want when you're feeling, like it's the
Yeah.
hug you need, but it's food.
Yeah. Well, and lots of so during campaigns, the community, right? We have hundreds of volunteers and people drop off food every day. So
Nice.
we get a lot of incredible casseroles. I've been eating the best casseroles of my life.
Yeah, casseroles are like a staple there. I love them. I love a good casserole. Okay,
Yeah.
so Jugmeat Singh could be my casserole or your potluck, which I think makes perfect sense. What would Pierre Polyev be? Poutine,
You think?
maybe?
I don't know.
I don't
Let's
know. What would Mark Carney be? Mark Carney would be a steak
yeah.
with like a really expensive sauce.
Bernays.
A béarnaise sauce, and he doesn't come with any side dishes because you have to pay extra for those.
Absolutely. That's a good one.
Um, Pierre Polyev, what are you? Okay. Mark Carney's a steak. Jagmeet Singh is a potluck. Mm, if Pierre Polyev's coming to my house, like, what is he bringing? A six pack? I don't know.
I don't know. Let me think. For some reason, and this makes no sense whatsoever, I'm thinking green beans.
Oh, something like very traditional Jello dish.
Yeah. Jello dish. Maybe Jello with a little bit of fruit in it. No,
Maybe
no fruit. No fruit in that Jello.
no fruit in the Jello. I mean, I don't think there should be fruit in Jello anyways. I think Jello should just like be a standalone dish. Um, maybe, food for thought.
Hmm.
Food for thought. Pun
Yeah. Yeah.
intended.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this conversation has gone in a direction that I never anticipated, and I'm sorry about that. But I just want to say it has been a pleasure chatting with you, and I am so excited to see you keep going through the campaign.
Thank you. Thank
And
you.
yeah, and I really do want to come to Saskatchewan. I have like plans in my head of doing things, but I really don't I am very concerned. It is something I think about daily, is about the continued advancement of women and marginalized people in Canadian politics, and how we keep moving the needle on this at a time when people just don't want it to move.
Yeah, I know. And I will say that I believe in the people that do want it to move, right? I
Yeah.
think that our voices are being lost, and I think that it's being covered over by another narrative. And so, if anything, right, just keep amplifying the thousands, millions of people that really do want to see a braver future and really do want to see more diverse representation and want to see women at the table.
Yeah,
That's what
100%.
I'm fighting for.
So for anyone, if this episode is, we're recording it, what time is it? Oh, 11:01. I'm going to put it out right away. So if someone is interested in coming and meeting you at your campaign office or out in Saskatoon, wherever you may be, or the event today with Jagmeet Singh, how do they get in touch with you?
Email rlw.ndp@gmail.com. That's the one
Okay.
that goes to the campaign team. And my website, rachelndp.ca.
Okay. Great. Well, I'm excited for you to be on the stage today. I, I mean, I'm just assuming that you'll be on the stage with,
I
because if
will.
you
I will be
aren't, then
introducing tonight.
yes. Oh, you're introducing him?
Yeah,
Oh, that's exciting.
it is. It's very exciting.
Yeah. Well, I am excited for you to do that. And I hope I'm excited for people in your community just to be, to feel optimistic about our future together.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
going to feel great
Yeah.
in that room tonight. And we're going to just keep doing absolutely everything we can. I've got the best team around. I know everyone says that, but I mean it. I've got the
Yeah.
best
Well,
team.
having met one of your volunteers, I can honestly say it's, like it hand delivering me buttons all the way from Saskatoon. I will never forget it. I will
Ah,
never forget it. It was so cool.
I'm gonna see them today. I'm gonna go tell them right away.
Tell me, tell
And
them,
also, so
yeah,
you should come do a pop-up in Saskatoon.
I would love to.
So if you
Honestly, you're
do
so
that, it'll
close
help you
yet
set it up.
so far away. Yeah, I would even, I mean, I would there's so many things that I'd like to do. I'd also, you in the within the NDP in Saskatchewan provincially, you have so many people that Alina Young, want to
Yes.
her. She's like, at the top of my list. Carla Beck, so many people. Like I would love to do, like come do a pop up, but then also like, I honestly, I don't even care. Like, yes, I want people to have things that they love. I love that. But I just want to like, I want to meet you and I want to, continue these conversations and continue to build community around advancing women in Canadian politics.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the Saskatchewan NDP brought in a whole bunch of women,
Yeah.
and all but one seat in Saskatoon went NDP during our
Yeah.
provincial
So
election.
we have to, and I also, this isn't to say it's only not only an NDP thing, but like I want to talk to women who belong and, who work in the Saskatchewan Party as well. Because the work of advancing women in Canadian politics is not something that is not the work of only one party.
Absolutely. And it's not only the work of women,
No, it is not only the work
right?
of women. We have enough on our plates. Like
Yeah.
I can't even, I just, like,
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, I know we're wrapping up here and we're going on another tangent, but in a lot of ways, and I say this to my classes because I have more and more men in gender studies classes
mm,
every year, right? And feminism is not only for women.
yeah.
Feminism is for everyone,
It
and
really is.
we need it to be something that is taken up by everyone.
Well, yeah, and part of that backslide right now is that men are like, oh yeah, I don't have to even worry about that anymore. Allyship, whatever. No, it matters more than ever,
Mhm.
right?
And it impacts, right? It has a lack of gender inclusion impacts everybody negatively. We know
Yeah, it
that.
does.
We
It
know.
impacts, the patriarchy also affects men. Just watch
Absolutely.
Barbie. Ken was
Yeah.
not doing well. He was not thriving. He was not living his best life in the
No,
Mojo Dojo Casa house,
no,
right?
no.
We do better when everybody does better.
Yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah. Thanks, Rachel. It was so great talking with you. And
It's
I have a great day on the campaign trail.
got a busy day ahead of me.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.